Hello, and thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Sasha Reade, and today I wanted to make a couple cards using these really cool half wreath dies. Now, I have both this one and the one that I'm going to share with you in a minute on the back of the packaging. And they kind of come with coordinating flowers and a whole bunch of other little dies. And I thought they were really cute, and I wanted to have some fun and create some cool cards with them. So here's the other set here. This one's a lot more Christmassy. It's got the pine cones. It looks a bit more wintry. The other one can kind of be a wintry or normal one. You can also get these word dies that go with the collection as well. So I thought I would have a fun play and create a couple square cards. So I've cut out all the words. This is what they look like when they're die cut out. I did kind of miss the fact that there wasn't a Merry in there. So you can have Happy Christmas, Happy Birthday, but there's no Merry to do Merry Christmas. I know it's not a very British thing to say Merry Christmas, but being Canadian, I really like to say Merry rather than Happy. But anyways, I've got this paper here, which is from Crafter's Companion. It's my favorite sort of gradient cardstock, and I had all these scraps left over, and I also bought some holographic card from Hobbycraft, and I just thought they would go really well together. So all I'm doing is I've got a piece of copy paper, so just really thin normal paper on my desk, and I'm just lining up the strips and kind of creating a nice gradient of color. And then I've also stuck that sort of holographic cardstock in there as well to kind of add a little bit of shine and a bit of shimmer. So all I'm doing is just lining them up nice and tight to each other. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do at this point, so that's why I used the copy paper. If you're thinking of die cutting out your strips of cardstock, or if you've got scraps and you use them and put them all together on a bit of paper, it just makes it a lot easier to die cut. In the end, I decided not to die cut this, and I just used it as a panel on top of my card. So you can see I'm trimming off all the edges, and then I'm going to trim off all the scrap bits of my copy paper as well. So I've got this nice little panel that I'm going to put on my card. It is wider than my card, and I did do that intentionally because I wanted to make sure that I could trim it off if I did it a bit wonky. And I've gone ahead and die cut out this little set of flowers. Now I thought it would be nice to do sort of a tone on tone kind of look with that kind of splash of color with the blues. I didn't want to overwhelm it too much and then die cut out the flowers out of a colored cardstock as well. I felt like that would probably overpower my nice little gradient panel that I just created. So I decided to go with the flowers in white. I thought they would pop up really nice on this bit of card. Now I did go ahead and die cut it out a second time. And all I'm doing is using my fine tip glue. This is the Nuvo Deluxe glue. It's my favorite glue. It sticks quickly and dries really, really fast. And so all I'm doing is adding dots of glue all over that. And it did take a little while. I'm not the biggest fan of adhering things using this method, but it actually didn't take that long to do. So again, I'm just adding dots of glue. I line them up, and because I use liquid glue, it gave me a bit of wiggle room to get those all those little intricate bits nicely together on top of each other. And now I'm just going to adhere it onto the top of the card. The reason I did 2 die cuts worth is it made it a bit more stable, and it made it pop off the card a bit more. It just kind of adds a little bit more of a wow factor, and it doesn't blend into the card as much. I've gone ahead and I have die cut out 3 times the Christmas wishes, and I am now adhering them onto the front of the card. So there are 3 layers there all stuck together. I did it off camera, and I'm just going to adhere them right onto the front. And I probably should align this up a little bit better. I quite like the sentiment to be centralized. And the wishes was bigger than the Christmas, but I didn't anticipate how much the difference was, and so I've kind of got them a bit spread out. I've got this heavyweight 300 GSM cardstock. I've got it in A3. I also have it in 12 by 12. But I'm making a card base, and this is a 6 by 6 inch panel. So I do need to make my card base a lot bigger. And this is the Hobbycraft paper trimmer. It goes up to 17 inches, which is really nice. It gives you a nice long panel to work from. This is the same paper trimmer as the Stampin' Up one. It's just a different color. So it's really, really, really good. I really enjoy it. And all I'm doing is I'm folding it in half, and then that way I can then stick it into my trimmer to trim it the other direction. If I left it open, I wouldn't have been able to trim it properly because the other end doesn't go as long. So I cut it, then I folded it in half and cut it again. And now I can go ahead and put my panel onto the front of this card. And again, I went with the white on white, and we get that nice little edge of white around it. So here's the die that came with the set, and when you cut it out, it gives you that big flower sort of in the middle. And all I'm doing is I'm roughing the edges. I have got a tool now to do this for me. I did get one of those styluses with the giant balls on the end so that you can kind of roll it around. Now I'm putting top on there because all the petals are different, and I didn't want to forget once I stuck my sticky dots on which way it goes and then have to kind of fiddle around. So I'm just sticking the sticky dots near the center so that the leaves can kind of curl over the ends. And I'm going to apply that onto that flower. Now I did think this flower would be the same as that other big flower there on the top. However, it's actually the opposite to that flower. So if you were to take the flower and turn it upside down like this, it matches perfectly. But the problem is you can't just flip it over because it's got these beautiful embossing details on the top of the flower. So you really don't want to miss that by using the back side of the flower to go on top. So I just die cut it a second time and then fussy cut off all those little extra bits. And I used the reverse image. So I die cut the flower again and used the reversed image to kind of trace around the edge so I could have a nice perfect cut. And then I'm going ahead and doing the same thing again. So it is a bit irritating that that flower's not the same. It is the same, it's just the opposite, like the upside down version. But that's one downside to the die. It would have been nice if those two big flowers were the exact same and you could just pop them on top. But it doesn't matter, made it work anyways. I've got these gems which I picked up from AliExpress. All of them are from AliExpress. I love finding bargain gems like this on really cheap shops. So I know a lot of this stuff comes from China anyways. I don't know where I would buy it from here, but I love these beautiful little gems. So I've used loads of them. I've also got these glass beads. So these are actually glass. They're not plastic. You can buy plastic ones, but these are glass ones, and I love the look of them. And you can't see the glue. This is the Ranger Multi-Medium in the matte finish. And once it dries, you can't see anything. It just looks clear and see-through. So that finished off that card, and we're moving on to the next one now. So for this set, I am using that die set that I shared with you earlier. It's a bit more Christmassy, so I decided to go for a Christmas-looking card. Now, my initial thoughts were that I wanted to see if I could make a wreath, and then I thought, oh my goodness, the card's just going to be ginormous if I make a wreath out of it. So I decided I would do a shaker card. So I've got my white topaz shimmer, which is like a pearlescent shimmer, my adhesive sheets, and I am going to make a die cut so that it's like a sticker. So I'm going to apply my double-sided sticky paper to my white topaz pearlescent cardstock. And this is my little trick. I do this with vellum as well. You line it up at the opposite end to the end that you peeled. Get it all nice and lined up. Then you press it down on the one end, and then you can glide the release paper off, and you get a nice flat bit of cardstock with no bubbles in it, and it's perfectly lined up. So now I've got my sticky sheet ready to go. I can put my die on top and cut it out. Now it doesn't always die cut all the way through because you've got that release paper on the back, so sometimes it doesn't die cut all the way through. So now I'm going to go ahead and die cut my acetate to be my little shaker window. So I've die cut it just slightly smaller, not die cut it, I cut it just slightly smaller than this square here. I'm using this tape from Alina's shop on AliExpress. It is super sticky and super skinny, so it's fantastic for things like this. I will link everything I use down below for you if you want to try and find it yourself. I can't recommend her sticky strong tape enough, as well as her shaker tape is amazing. So all I'm doing here is removing that release paper so that I can then go ahead and stick my piece of acetate over the top, and it'll be nice and stuck down really firmly. So you can see my acetate is just a tiny bit smaller than my cardstock. Then I like to use my bone folder and rub that nice and firm. I've taken off the release sheet on the back of this beautiful flower arrangement, and I'm just popping it right inside that die cut place, and then I'm rubbing it on the back to make sure that it is stuck down really nicely. I did get a tiny tear here, so I'm just adding some liquid glue to stick that back down, and you can never tell the difference. So this is a really minimal shaker card. You can't see much at all through the actual little window bits that you can see, but I love it because it gives it a subtle bit of a shaker card. So you can see it and you can feel it when you pick up the card. So when you pick up the card and it shakes, you know that there's going to be a shaker element in it, and you'll start to see the little beads that we're going to put inside. So at the moment, I'm only tracing around where the holes are in my die cut. So I'm using this foam tape from Lena's shop, which is my favorite for making shaker cards. It's bonker sticky, and it is 5mm and 10mm, so it's perfect. And this foam tape here, I believe, is from Cardstock. Any of the ones that have the 3M on it are from Lena's shop. I'm not sure if they're actually made by 3M. Here's our little beads we're going to stick inside. These are called caviar beads or seed beads. They're just really, really tiny beads. You can use them for doing your nails. You can use them in shaker cards. There's lots of uses. And I'm just spreading some of those in there. The downside to these little beads is they get very staticky. And so they're really a bit annoying to kind of work with at times, but they have a really cool effect when you're done. So I've just gone ahead and cut another panel in the red. Again, just slightly smaller than that front panel. And I'm adhering it onto the back. So now you can see in a close-up all those little beads in there, and they just wiggle around really beautifully. So I love how that worked and how that turned out. I love doing shaker cards. If you haven't worked that out already from watching my channel, it is something that I love to do all the time. Here's those word dies again. I've just stacked them up and I'm sticking them on to my card. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, I would love it if you did. And do drop me a comment, because I always read every single comment and I do my best to reply to every single person. Sometimes things get a bit crazy in life and I don't always end up replying. And I do try and link everything for you in the description box below. And a lot of my links are affiliate links. And I so appreciate when you use them. It gives me a little bit of extra income and it helps me to pay for all the supplies I use in my videos, and it helps to keep my channel going. So it doesn't cost you anything extra, but I do appreciate when you use them. I'm not bothered if you choose not to, though. I would never be upset or annoyed if no one ever used my links. They're there, and if you'd like to use them, great. If not, that's completely your choice. But I will always link everything I use when I can, whether they're an affiliate link or not. I find nothing more frustrating than watching a video and seeing something like that bit of cardstock, the gold cardstock with flowers, and where did you get it and how can I get it? But I do forget my links sometimes, so if I do forget anything, just pop me a message in the comment section and I'll make sure to find the link for you and link it down below. So I've gone and taken some tonic cardstock there, and back to my card. You can just see it a little bit poking out the edge. And for the inside, I've lined it with another bit of red and a bit of white. I love layers on my cards. I absolutely love to finish off my cards with some layers. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp a sentiment. This is the stamp set that coordinates with this die set. I'm going to use my trusty VersaFine ink. And oh my goodness, guys, I re-inked it with the wrong re-inker. I had to order a new ink pad because I totally mucked it up. I wasn't paying attention. I mean, I've had this ink pad now for a good 3-4 years, so it was probably time to get a new one, but it was a sad moment in time. Here's my little flower from that same set, and I'm going ahead and stamping the corners. I love to add a little bit of stamped imaging on the inside of the card as well. I've got my gold Nouveau drops. I love these Nouveau drops. They basically keep their shape. So I have tried loads of other drops before. The thing with Nouveau drops is when you put them down, they retain the dimension, so they have this nice rounded dome effect. I recently picked up some ones that have a stone effect, which means they look like a stone when they dry. So they keep the dome shape and they look like a stone. How cool is that? Anyways, thank you so much for joining me today. That's the end of my video. This finishes off my cards. I'm so grateful you were here today, and please do like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye!